Hello, in this video I'm gonna tell you about how to remove foliage below buildings, below any actors. Like for example, in my case, I need it because when I build, for example, garden, as you can see, my grass foliage is short enough and it's not visible above my garden. But for example, if I'll build my garden here on the bush foliage that's high enough, it overlaps and its top part is visible. And I want it to be removed when my garden is placed here. So let's start. To make this, I will create a new folder in my system folder and name it foliage removal system. Here I will create an actor component called foliage removal component. It will be an actor component and I will add it to new detectors. Here in begin play I will get owner of this component and promote it to variable and call it just owner. I will call it owner, and after this I have to create a box uh, box collision that will in which foliage will be removed. I will create a new function for this, name it create bounding box, and here I'm gonna make a sequence. First, let's create a component. No, add component. Yes, add component by class, and it will be box component. I will leave it. Okay. Its location will be get owner and owner bounds. We'll check this all and to our box location. Let's this origin is in world space, and we need to add the box collision into local space. So let's convert origin from world to local and make it. Mm, let's find out how to do it. Okay, here we have a transform. Oh, combine and recombine. So what does this function do is if t was an object's transform, this would transform a position from world space to local space. I think that t should be an owner transform, and this will be our origin in a local space. We'll test it in a bit. So after I have added box collision, I will change it extents. Okay, let's promote it to variable at first to local. I think local is enough. Call it box collision, and we'll change it extents set box extent, and it will be uh, this one extent. And we don't need to update overlaps. Oh, okay, we didn't provide where we are going to add the box collision. Here it is. And let's make our box collision just for test purposes, let's make it visible and make it not hidden in game. And we will test it now. I will test it on my garden. My garden doesn't have 0 position. Let's add the component here and call a function create bounding box. And of course it's not visible here for some reason. And if I will move it here, it will not be visible anyway. Okay, let's try to add garden manually through the building. Okay, it's not visible. How can we check it? How can we check it? Is draw debug box. Okay, its center is in world position, I think. So we draw. Okay, we will see it if it will overlap in correct positions. Okay, after we have changed box extents, we have to change a response to different channels of our box collision. So let's get box collision and set response to all channels. It will ignore all channels, but will overlap set collision response to channel. It will overlap only world static. Now we need to set an object type, collision object type for our box collision, and it will not be world static, it will be just a new one. We don't need everything here to overlap with this box collision. We need only foliage to overlap with it. So let's go to project settings, collision here, and create a new collision in engine category and create a new object channel and name it foliage replacer. And by default, it will be ignored by everyone. Okay. Now let's navigate to my foliage and I don't need everything here from my foliage to overlap with this box. For example, clovers and grass are short enough and they may not be destroyed. So I will, okay, I don't see any collision here, maybe. Okay, let's find out. Oh, here, no. And that's because reapply is selected. Let's select paint and I will disable. I don't know why, but some of them overlap foliage replacer by default, so they will ignore. And I need only my bush and maybe mm, flowers. These flowers to overlap with this box. Here it is. Let me save everything just to be sure if Unreal will crash. I will be with my progress. And now let's set our box collision uh, object type, set collision object type function, and it will be foliage replacer. Here it is. Next, we need to know when to when our box is overlapped with something. I'll move it here, and here I will get a box and bind begin overlap event to my box. Okay, I forgot to remove create bounding box from construction script, and I will call this function on begin play from my component. Okay, let's make custom event and call it on box overlap begin. And for test purposes, I will print with which object did we overlap. Let's start. Okay. Uh, okay, here we don't have any bushes, and here it overlaps with bush. Okay, foliage instant static mesh component and index, everything is printed. And now we need to remove. Oh no, we don't need to remove this indices. For example, if my building will be destroyed, I need this foliage to go back. So if bush was destroyed below the garden and I will destroy garden, then bush have to appear on the same position. And to do that, let's create a new function. We will not remove foliage, we will move it below a landscape. And we will move it back above when overlap ends or something like this. Maybe, I don't know um, for sure how to do it, but for now, let's just remove the foliage. Let's make a new function, remove foliage, and it will have an input component. It will be foliage instance static mesh component, and it will have an index. Here it is. And this function will be called from here. Let's cast component first. Cast to foliage instance component. And provide our function with input. So here we are, and to test, let's just take a component and remove instance at index. Now we will see that that everything is removed at correct positions. Just to check that bushes disappears and that correct bushes disappears. Okay, this bush disappears. Okay, and this one doesn't. And I don't know why. Mm, That's very strange. Oh, I'm not sure, but maybe this bush is part of my forest. No? Yes, it's part of my forest. It's not part of a foliage here. So let me um, disable forest for now. And let's test it again. Mm-hmm. Okay, and everything, as you can see, zero at my garden is broken, and everything is removed. Um, you may have a question why everything is removed in a big area around garden. That's because my collision here is bigger than garden by itself. I don't remember why, but that's how it is. That's fine for me. So foliage is removed correctly, and now what should we do is to okay, for some of you maybe it's enough, but for me where I can move a garden, I want foliage to be returned back to position where it was if it doesn't overlap with my garden, for example. And the way I will do it, I will not remove an instance, I will update instance transform. Maybe we have something like a list of not visible instances. No. Okay, we will update the transform of this instance. At first, we will get the current transform. Let's get instance transform of the current in world space. And the new one will be this one with the same rotation, with the same scale in world space, and with the same x and y. But let's make a new parameter called z offset, new variable, I'm sorry, z offset, and it will be like 10 thousandths. And here we'll subtract 10 thousandths and set it back. So every instance will not be removed, but it will disappear. And now how we will check if we should return it back is a hard question because everything not overlapping. And okay, let's let's save. Mhm. Let me think. I will just pause the video here. Okay, let's continue. And what I've decided is not to move down an instance and to change. I decided to change its scale. So currently its scale is one. For me is 111, but for you it may vary. I have, and for me also, I have bushes with random scales. So x and y scale will stay the same, but z scale will be the same scale, but with but multiplied by -1. Here it is, and it will not disappear. It will not be moved, and I hope that in this way we'll be able to generate end overlap event. So on create bounding box, let's add a new event. Let's bind a new. Let's bind end overlap event here. Let's call it normally like end overlap event and begin overlap event. And here I'll create a new custom event called on box overlap end. And we'll do almost the same. We'll cast our component to foliage instance component, and in create a new function reset foliage. It will also receive a component and index component will be foliage instance static mesh component. We'll get a transform of instance with which our overlap end. Check if it's that scale is less than 0, and if it is so, we will set, will update instance transform here, and it will be location the same, rotation the same, and scale x, y the same, and z multiplied by -1. Oh, also instance index will be this one. And we'll call this function here, component and index. Oh, let's check it. Okay, let's move. And let me check again. I will create smaller garden by default, not 2 by 2, 1 by 1. Okay, this bush removed, and it returned back. Mm, seems like seems like uh, collision box is a little bit broken. Also, we do not begin overlap. We do not call remove foliage if z is already minus. So if it is less than 0, we will not update it transform to -0. Okay, let's check it. Maybe that was the problem. Oh, but we multiplied by -1, so It shouldn't. Okay. Okay. And when I'm creating a bounding box, I will create it with some extents, but I will scale it by Z. So if my foliage is below the landscape, bounding box will also reach it. So I will make it scale like by Z like 2, and X and Y will stay the same. And after creating a bounding box, and here I'm not sure about relative location. Maybe I can to be sure set world location to be sure that it is correct. I will not transform anything, and I will put this origin here. And I don't know what is broken, by the way. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing this box, but I would like to. Let me let me start in a viewport. Close it. Bigger than that here, and show collision. Okay, you can see this. Oh no, this big. No, I can't see it. I have a beach box. Okay, we can see a big box near garden. Here it is, and it looks correct. So the problem is not in begin overlap and end overlap. Oh, the problem is not with the position of this box. The problem is with remove foliage and reset foliage. Let's find out what is the problem. Okay, let's continue. And the thing that I found out is that get instance transform and update instance transform doesn't actually update the scale of our instance. For example, if my instance has a scale of 1 by z, and when I set -1 here, its rotation will change. Its scale will remain the same, but its rotation will change to 180. So to check if we should update an instance transform, we should check rotation. And we will break rotation vector, and we will check if yo is or yao, I'm not sure if it is in range in range of something like 150 and to 10. Here it is, and for a set foliage, we'll do the same. We'll break rotation and check that if it is in range. Okay, if it is in the same in this range, if it is in this range, then we'll do this. And if it is in this range, then we we update it if it's not in this range. So in, in false. And I removed pin here for test purposes. And let's test it out. For test purposes, I just placed a single bush here. I didn't hit play. Uh, okay, it doesn't work again. Maybe because I should not test yo, but I should test x. Or I should test a roll here if it is between 150 and okay. Okay, let's test it again. And here it is. Here it's working. And let's go to the beginning here where we have a lot of foliage and test it here. Here is how it looks like. Also, for your purposes, you can change these values as you need. If your foliage can have different angles, you may want to set values like 112, 120, and etc. But for me, it's fine. So that's all about it. And thanks for watching. Hope it will help someone.